All right. Welcome, everybody. We are so glad that you took the time to be here live, or if you're watching the recording, that you're taking the time to learn about nutrigenomics for yourself. My name is Angie Huntley, and I have been teaching on and educating on nutrigenomics for about 9 years. And I'm thrilled to be able to have this very focused class tonight, and a little bit of story sharing about nutrigenomics and athletic performance and stamina and recovery. I'm going to ask everybody to mute, but I'm going to also just mute people. At the end, if you have questions, you can absolutely feel free to unmute at that time. But until then, just know that if you're not muted and your dog barks or something, all eyes will be on you. The camera will pull. If you haven't been on Zoom before, the camera will pull to you. So 9 years ago, LifeVantage, which is a biotech company, found me. And I want to share with you a little bit about what that is. Being a biotech company, they really were started because they had pioneered a science called nutrigenomics. And so not only have they pioneered the science, but they specialize in it. And because of that, we're a little bit of light years out in front in that science. And what nutrigenomics is it's the formulating of nutritional components, very, very clean nutritional components that are made in such a way that they target pathways in your DNA. So where you're used to seeing most likely nutritional components that are formulated to supplement, formulated to give you something where you're lacking. For instance, if you're lacking magnesium, you may take a magnesium supplement. If you're lacking in iron, you may take a iron supplement. If my cup was empty, I would fill it with water to supplement where there was lack. And how we are different from that is that instead of supplementing where there's lack, we're actually turning on something that's off. And I know that's a new concept for a lot of people, but a lot of us kind of look to our DNA for reasons why, usually we blame our DNA. We blame our DNA for maybe why we don't expect to be as healthy as someone else, or we sit back on it because maybe we have a loved one with their DNA who's lived long and we expect to have a long lifespan because it's the DNA, right? Well, your DNA is very influenceable. We live in a world where DNA is being very influenced. And so one of the reasons why I love this so much is because so often we look at aspects of our health and we think, I'd really love to get to the root of that, or I'd love to get healthier deep to the root of things. We want to address things deeper instead of just looking at things on the surface or reactively. And honestly, kind of getting into your DNA is as root as you can go. And it's not voodoo or kooky because you're influencing your DNA right now. But where we found a sweet spot at LifeVantage is we can influence your DNA in very, very strong, powerful ways that exponentially increase your body's heal and repair capacity. So think about that as we are focused on athletic performance, stamina, and recovery. We get to influence your DNA in ways, again, that exponentially increase your heal and repair capacity. So 20% of your DNA is active, but 80% of your DNA is dormant. So that's more than what a lot of people know about their DNA. They think their DNA is doing all this stuff, but honestly, most of it, the majority of it, the gross majority of it is sleeping. 2% of your DNA is coded, and 98% of your DNA is influenceable. 98%. So that 2% that gave me brown eyes and I'm 5'9" and I have wide feet and there's just not a thing I can do about that. Cold plunging won't change that. Eating healthy won't change that. Supplementing the right things aren't going to change the fact that I'm 5'9" and make me 5'2". But the reality is some of the things that impact our health, our healing, our preventative and therapeutic capacities are really, really influenceable. And you are influencing them. If you've chosen to work out today, you're influencing them. If you're wearing cologne or perfume, you're influencing them. If you've eaten processed foods, if you've drank alcohol, if you're sedentary, all of those things are an influence on our DNA. So how do we target? And I'll give you an example. I want to give you two analogies, and then I'll hand it over just to kind of give you an idea of how we're different, why we're different, and why we can deliver more than any other food, drug, or supplement. And I really can say that. As you hear all this, we encourage you to be skeptical. We encourage you to ask questions. We have a lot of peer-reviewed scientific validation that you can look at. And so I think in today's world, you need to be skeptical. You need to second guess a lot of things because there's a lot out there that really just is not very good for you. I want you to think of your DNA right now like your cell phone. So my cell phone is doing a few things right this moment, like your DNA. Remember, 20% is active. I don't think my cell phone's doing 20% of its things right now, but if I touch it, it's got a really cute picture of my husband who was at the Detroit Lions draft a couple of years ago, just loving life. I've got a couple notifications. It tells me how much battery I have, who my provider is, and I can get some information. But right now, even though my cell phone is an Apple, it's charged, it's fully charged, and it's programmed, it's not doing everything it was programmed to do. And I want you to think of your DNA as programming, right? I think we do. I think we get that much of it, that our DNA is like this motherboard computer of complexities within our body, within our physiology. But here, if I want to start seeing this function in different ways, I simply have to know how to activate the different functions. So although it's doing a few things, I'm not on a phone call. I'm not listening to a book. I'm not using a level. I am not using the flashlight. I'm not, the list goes on and on. I'm not sending an email. I'm not reading an email. I'm not on social media. I'm not voice recording. And our list goes on and on. I could even watch a movie on here if I wanted to. But I would never know what those functions are. In fact, there's some functions on my phone I don't even know. I probably, if my sons walked in today, all of my sons are young adults. If they walked in today and said, "Mom, did you know that your phone does A, B, and C?" I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't know it. And then they'd probably show me how it does it. And how would they show me? In the same way that I would activate my flashlight. I would never know this has a flashlight. I would never know it was programmed for a flashlight. I would never know that it actually has the bulb unless someone said, "Hey, this is how you turn that on." And then it does what it was created to do. So with that, that's what we do with nutrigenomics. We use the nutritional formulations that says, hey, your body has this capacity. We know it has the capacity. It's programmed for it. It's ready for it. It needs it. We can formulate nutritionally what you need to turn on some of those pathways that are so special. So how do we know which ones to target, and why is this something that you need to know about working out, getting in shape, athletic performance, whether you are a professional athlete and you are a very, very elite level and very competitive, or whether you just want your body to be able to stay active with your family for longer in your life. Maybe you are in your 60s or 70s and you think, maybe I should start working out. I want an advantage to be able to do that, because you know that old phrase, use it or lose it. That's a real thing with our bodies, with our muscles. So what we do is we rely on this concept that a lot of people know. And actually 60 years ago, a team of scientists was moving forward, researching on the understanding that no matter what ails you, whether it's the really scary disease processes, the mediocre disease processes, the small disease processes, or whether it's just the vulnerabilities of aging that tend to hold us back, they are all rooted in the same dysfunctions within the cell. So humor me for a minute, and I want you to just picture for yourself a four-legged table. And if you look and just imagine the tabletop, I want the tabletop to represent disease, dysfunction, limitations. Some of those things can be really scary diagnoses like cancer, Alzheimer's. Some of them might just be, I'm sore, I'm tight, I'm weak, and kind of everything in between, right? Even just the phrase when people say like, oh, it stinks to get old, or I wish my body worked better for me. Let's represent all of that by the tabletop. And what these scientists did almost 60 years ago, they realized that although Western medicine and supplementation, and even sometimes in our training, we're really, really focused on the tabletop. And we learn to manage all of those things. And we kind of get tunnel vision for each ailment or each area where we want to see strength or movement to capacity and so on. And what they knew was that there are dysfunctions within the cell that are supporting whatever the tabletop is. So I want you to know that the legs of the table represent the dysfunctions. So the premise of these scientists were really, what if we eliminated a leg of the table? And back then, that's where they started with. They recognized one leg of the table being oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is the reason why you all know you need to eat foods rich in antioxidants. Some of you might even be taking antioxidant supplements. It might be the reason that you eat dark chocolate because you want antioxidants. That's because oxidative stress is a leg of the table. You can't name an ailment, an illness, or an injury that isn't supported by that leg of the table, oxidative stress. So the premise of these scientists, their hypothesis was, man, if we could eliminate oxidative stress as a dysfunction within the cell, what would the tabletop look like? And so many things have happened since then. They had a breakthrough because they were looking at the human genome, because they realized that external sources for antioxidants just can't cut it. They're great for you. I mean, blueberries are wonderful for you, but can they change my athletic recovery? Can they change my athletic performance? Can they change a trajectory of any disease process? No, they can't. They're good for me, but they just can't budge this monstrosity of a dysfunction called oxidative stress. But your body can. You have a pathway in your DNA called NRF2. It's a protein enzyme. And when that's turned on, your body makes super antioxidants at a rate that no other food, drug, or supplement can compare, at a rate that lowers oxidative stress at least 40% in 30 days, 70% in 90 days. These scientists made this discovery and went public with it. They had a study that went public, and be skeptical of this. We want you to look it up. The subjects in the study, 100% of the humans lowered their oxidative stress 40% in 30 days. And that's never been done. That's, first of all, 100% efficacy is kooky. It doesn't happen very often. And so that should make you skeptical. The other thing is that nothing else out there lowers your oxidative stress. Nothing else out there can compare to it. It's your body that's doing it. It's like turning on the flashlight. I can't say that my finger is what lights this up, but what my finger does is it flips the switch so that it does what it's created to do. And they found this formulation of herbs, literally it's herbal, that turns on that pathway that just starts cranking out those super antioxidants within your body. I want to share with you a 2-minute clip from an ABC Primetime investigative report that was done after that study went public. Wall Street Journal published a summary on that study, and that got the world's attention. And that's why we have 31 peer-reviewed studies just on that product alone. But ABC Primetime investigative report 20 years ago came in, and usually they would go in to kind of blow the truth out of the water and to say, hey, you know what, we're going to prove you wrong. And I just want to show you this little clip, and then we're going to hear from a couple people athletically share with you how it's made such a difference.
Age-related. Normally, oxidative stress measured by those T-bars increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of Protandim a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
Back to the oxidative stress levels of a child? It sounds too good to be true. Will Protandim work on me? But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the numbers. The result? My level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%. That's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
Which, if extrapolated back, is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Have we turned back the clock? Well, maybe not on the outside, but deep inside within my cells. Yes, indeed. Would you suggest I keep taking this supplement?
I would.
And so, ancient Eastern healing and modern Western medicine may soon be working together. High oxidative stress is associated with more than aging. It's been linked to hundreds of illnesses.
It's at the very center of many diseases: liver disease, diabetes, emphysema, asthma. I've studied all of these: strokes, heart attacks,
Even mental disease.
yes,
Depression?
Alzheimer's disease, depression. But we do know that oxidative stress is part of those disease processes. And I don't want to wait until I'm 80 years old and find out that I should have taken it.
So powerful, right? If you have not seen that, make sure whoever invited you to this call gets you the full ABC Primetime Investigative Report. And we're going to help you connect this to athletics and athletic performance, stamina, and recovery. But I want you to know that that was just the beginning for LifeVantage. There's other legs of the table. There's other dysfunctions that support inflammation. There's other dysfunctions that support injury. There's other dysfunctions that are holding our body back, even if we don't have a name for them. And we've been able to, through the years, activate different pathways that specifically target those. And we'll get into those a little bit more because we have a whole product line that activates, it turns on what's off in the body to make what you need. And your body is so much more capable of making what you need than ingesting it. For instance, I will tell you that just activating that pathway increases your body's production of glutathione by 300% within 90 days. Even just research the effects of glutathione on the body. People are paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for glutathione infusions that wear off. And we activate the body to make its own at such an increased rate that nothing else can compare. And that's just one of the things that it does. So there were health reasons for my family why we turned to activation 9 years ago. But my family of 5 young men, I have a husband of 30 years and I have 5 sons who are adults. And 2 of my sons are on this call and were able to take their athletic career to the next level into Division I baseball play. But even as you can imagine, to be an athlete that gets to a Division I baseball career or a Division I athletic career, they had a very intense athletic regimen their whole life, really. And so I want to introduce you first to my son, Maxwell Huntley. So Max, I'll ask you to unmute. And Max is an incredible human, and he is husband to his wife, Alexis. And Max is very injury prone. And Max has had a lot of injuries through the years. But Max was he played Division I baseball player, but I think he and I will probably agree he was probably even a better football player. And he was a running back in high school. And I mean, he was hard to catch. And he had those really natural juking moves that he just made people look silly. He was so good. The problem with that is, Max, you can tell me, I don't know if it's called double team, where they put like 2 people on you and people were always gunning for him. And so there were some injuries that happened. And I want to back up before that is we had Max activated because Max has a low white blood cell count. So that means that he's immune compromised. He would normally get sick a lot, catch every sinus infection, every virus. He was just kind of a revolving door of sickness. And when he's activated, he wasn't. Well, with his athletic schedule, that just enabled him to be present and part of his team and work out. So I actually want, Max, will you share a little bit about, I think even starting in high school, of how it affected your athletics and overall health?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the introduction too. I mean, that was nice.
You're welcome.
But No. So I guess kind of starting with the immune system thing, feels like every time weather started to change outside, it was just more than allergies for me, and I was always sick. So I guess that's when I started to take it. Um, Not even for the athletic part of it, which came later, but I did it more for health reasons at first. And I just remember missing a lot of days of school, a lot of days of training for sports because I was always sick. And then I believe I was just on Nerf 2, maybe Nerf 1, but it wasn't a whole lot, just a couple things. Um, and um, and that alone kind of helped me out and helped me stay healthy. But um going kind of to the football part of it, my senior year, and football I think was always my favorite sport. I just had more opportunities in baseball. So I kind of knew that that was my last season, senior year. I wasn't going to play, and so I was playing no matter what. And game one, and my ankles have been awful my entire life. I think I broke my ankle twice, sprained it 3, 4 times, the same one. And game one of my senior year, sprained my ankle. And then game two, I sprained the other one. So I was activated the entire time, Nerf 2. And I mean, I still taped it, did things I needed to do with it. But for the most part, I didn't really lose a beat with it. Sprained it, went to the doctor, said it was sprained, just tape it up, do what I was doing. Um, and then I played every game with 2 taped ankles, but activated the entire season. And I didn't miss any time. And it didn't slow me down or anything. It kind of just helped me heal and help me keep going because that year I believe I still won district awards and state awards. So it wasn't like it just helped me get out there. It helped me kind of stay at the level I was at, um, which is when I really noticed that I needed to be on it for the majority of my life, because I mean that alone was enough for me. But it carried over to when I was at Western. It's just the whole recovery part of it. There's a lot of intense workouts in college and a lot of long days. And there's a lot of guys who, I mean, are just tired and sore after days. And when I was on Nerf 2, I was always fine. I mean, I wasn't sore very much. And then I was always, I mean, a little rebellious of Angie's kids, probably the most rebellious. So when I was fine, I would get off it because I didn't think I needed to be on it. But then all this stuff would just start coming back to me, start to get sore, tired. But then I'd go back on it and it'd be good after I was on it for a little bit. So for the most part, I mean, completely changed just me as an athlete because I started performing better, um, and was just more healthy all the time. But that's kind of my story with it. I don't know. Did I miss anything, Mom? Was there anything else that I think that was kind of the majority?
I think her screen's frozen. She may have lost her internet.
Okay. We're about to hit a pretty bad storm, I know, and we're pretty close, so that might be what it is. But I think CJ's on here and he was going next. CJ, you on?
Yep, I'm on. I'm trying to figure out. I'm on my phone, so I'm trying to figure out how to unmute myself here. So I think I got that figured out. Can you guys hear me? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So I was gonna ask my mom to interrupt just in case I forgot anything, but doesn't seem like that's the case. So I got to see how good I can do here. Um, but so I'll just kind of go back. Similar to Max, Division 1 baseball player, a lot of workouts, and part of my medical history, like I was actually very fine most of my life, like no real ankle injuries, like maybe a tight shoulder after throwing for a while, and so I never felt like the need to be on Protam because everything was like sunshine and rainbows. It was like perfect. And so my biggest thing being on Protandim is my mom just kept telling me, stay on it, stay on it. It'll help you. It'll help you. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I started taking it, and then I really like my injury happened after my sophomore year of college, or in the middle of my sophomore year of college. I had blood clots that went from the top of my shoulder down to my elbow. It was one big clot that went into one of my main veins. I can't remember the exact vein. It wasn't an artery or anything, but it was DVT, deep vein thrombosis. And then part of it broke off from my arm and went and traveled into my lungs. And so my coaches kind of just freaked out. Also, apologies. We have a 3-year-old. So if you guys hear some kids running around, it's kind of just what's going on. So yeah, part of it broke off into my lungs, and my coaches were like kind of freaking out because no school wants to take on the liability of someone who has a history of blood clots. It's just the reality of the situation. And so thanks, buddy. And so the big thing was go to the doctor, get fixed, get everything right, and then get back to athletics was my goal. And they're just like, get healthy. That's what everybody else is saying. Just get healthy. But my goal is to get back on the field and play because that's just who I am. There wasn't anything that was going to keep me off the field. And so big thing is they came in, they took out my first rib or half of it that it was kind of clogging the blood flow. Is everything was coming in but nothing was coming out. So my first rib and my collarbone were cutting off this vein like a hose. So they went in, took a muscle out, took the bone out, and they're hoping that everything is healthy. It's typically a 6-month recovery on that just to be cleared to play. And that's really when I started upping my Protandim. I was taking it twice a day. I was on the Tri-Synergizer, I believe. I was taking Nerf 1, Nerf 2, and then somebody correct me here, there's a third. I don't take all 3 now. I just take Nerf 1 and Nerf 2. But so I was taking the Tri-Synergizer there. I think it came with fish oil. And then after that, I recovered. I started swinging. Yes, NAD. Thank you. I was swinging a bat again 1 month after my surgery. And so that was a 6-month recovery process where that was where I was supposed to start swinging again was 6 months later. And I had the surgery 1 month later. I'm swinging a bat. I'm starting to throw 3 months later and getting back to myself. And then after that, that fall, because they were like, there's no way that anybody's supposed to recover this fast. And so I then got tested for steroids by the NCAA 3 times. And I never got tested for steroids my other 3 years. My freshman year, sophomore year, senior year, never got tested. But my junior year, when I came back, wasn't supposed to recover, they tested me for roids 3 times. Just because they're like, there's just no way. And so, I mean, once the NCAA gets a wind of something, they get after you to make sure that you are clean. It's just the way they are. Max kind of understands that deal as well. And if any of you guys played college sports or did anything with the NCAA, you know that they're hounds. And that I just haven't stayed off of that product. And since then, I don't know if it was something that stays with me for my whole life or what the deal is, but I've had 0 issues. My arm, the swelling has gone back completely. Like I just have 2 normal size arms, which is great. I didn't mention it, but when it happened, how I knew it was a blood clot, my arm swelled up like a balloon. So that's why I knew that. That's why I mentioned my arms are normal size now. And so I've stayed on Protandim ever since, and I've had 0 issues with my arm, with my body, and I will be staying on it for, I mean,
Can I want to add to that because I'm back on. We have crazy weather happening here, so I don't know what I missed. So please excuse me, people, if I'm redundant. But CJ, have you mentioned the level that your performance went back to after? And I'm not sure if the surgery that he had to remove part of his subclavius muscle, his top rib, and a stent put in his vein, and so pretty major surgery. And they weren't sure he was going to go back to baseball. We just wanted him to live at that point. If you're familiar with a pulmonary embolism and blood clots, the protocol, everything, it was a really hard time. And also I want to say Max was on NRF2, NRF1 and ProBio, and we doubled him up with those sprained ankles. but CJ as well. That was our maximum stack at the time. And we doubled him up and we said, hey, let's get on NRF2, NRF1 ProBio. Let's take it twice a day. And CJ, what was your performance like when after they checked you for steroids because you healed too fast? What did your baseball career entail after that?
I mean, I didn't miss a game after that. I started every game for 2 straight years at Indiana State. Ended up being a top 25 program. Now it's not just a one person thing. It was our whole team. Obviously, we were very good, but being a part of it, I mean, for those of you that know baseball, I was a 300 hitter. I was 10, 15 doubles every year. I mean, 4 or 5 home runs every year. And so I mean, things went back to normal afterwards.
And it was your throwing arm. So the healing of that, he played right field and he threw 100 miles an hour from the outfield to home. So he's being a little humble. And I'm saying that not to just be a bragging mother, which of course I love to be, but like he wasn't, his healing, he came back strong. He made it on SportsCenter top 10. SportsCenter's top 10 after that recovery, which it just didn't seem possible. And so he was defying the odds left and right. And I want to also, well, first of all, CJ, thank you so much for sharing. It's also, how did you mention your focus? How has it been for your focus?
Oh, I didn't even mention that. No, so I have ADD, and my wife will attest to that I do have that. And so no, I take it every day, and it helps my focus. Like, it definitely helps me around the house, helps me with school. I like when I was at school, I was a two. Oh God, what was I in high school before I really started taking it? I think I was like a 2.3 GPA, and before my senior year took it, then I bumped it up to a 3.0. And so, like, just little things, being able to focus in class, helped me in college be able to graduate, do things, because there was a time where doctors were telling me like the best thing that was going to happen with my focus and the way I was focusing was the best thing I could do is junior college and just get like certifications. And that's it. Now I have a 4-year degree. Oh, I think we lost Angie again. There we go.
I'm back now. Yeah.
Did you hear that? Was that about what you wanted?
That is what I wanted. I didn't hear what the doctors told you, but I lived it. So I know the doctors tried to limit you, and we've seen incredible things with your focus. So thank you, CJ and Max, so much for sharing. And I also want to add for Max too, because I used to be a professional dancer. I've sprained my ankle several times. At 6 weeks out, I'd be 6 weeks out. There was no way as a mom I would have ever let him play if his ankle was compromised. I would have let him miss his senior year football. I would have let him miss weeks, but he healed so fast. He never missed a week and literally would have those injuries like every week or several times throughout the year. Or throughout the season. So the recovery from injury, from surgery, from the athletic recovery is absolutely remarkable. Thank you guys so much for sharing that. I want to introduce Rusty Cottrell, and Rusty is a colleague of mine, and he's been involved with LifeVantage longer than I have. And he has 68 years life experience. I think that's the best way to word it, because he's anything but old. I can't even say that he's 68 years old, because you'll see everybody. But he lives in Kauai with his amazing wife, who's a dietitian, and he's a father of 7. Am I right? 7 children, 39 years in physical therapy. He's a very, very good physical therapist. In fact, when I need to reference, a lot of times when in the past with this career, I've needed to reference physicians, and I get better information from Rusty and his wife. They are so, so knowledgeable about the human physiology. And he is more than that, though. He had 27 years private practice with physical therapy. And with that said, though, he is so active. At 68 years young, he is doing long distance and sprint swims in the ocean. He lives in Kauai 3 or 4 times a week. He's surfing several times a week. He's hiking. He plays ultimate frisbee. There is such a list. I'm sure I've missed some of the things that you do. Oh, he lifts weights and he's in better shape than me. So I would love for you to hear from him because he studied the science in depth. He's one of those people who say, as soon as I heard about the glutathione, I was in from a physical therapy standpoint. So Rusty, would you share just a little bit about maybe athletically where you were feeling before activation? Because it's been over 10 years for you, and what you see working now and maybe why too.
Yeah, I'd love to. I loved CJ and Max. I loved your stories. Great to hear those. It's always inspiring, and I hope that people here understand what you actually said. That's amazing, and what you guys accomplished. From a physical therapist point of view, you guys healed way too fast. I mean, it's just amazing. But I have seen that in my own practice, so I'm used to that. But I'm going to go back just a bit. When I was 15, I thought it was God's gift to athleticism. And we had a teacher who was ancient. He was 30. He was our coach. And he would take us out for every Friday for a run. He built us up to 5 miles. So we'd done that for probably 6 months or so. And so we thought, okay, we got this. We got this 5 mile run down. And so one day we're out about a mile away from school, and he goes, I got something I got to be back to school for, and you guys won't be able to keep up with me. And so I'll see you back at the gym, or meet me at the gym. And I said, yeah, right. You're going to beat us, right? He smoked us. And I thought, okay, 30's not old. That put inside me a fire to figure out what everyone else was missing, that I was around that didn't know this. And like, I was going to figure this out, and I was going to experience that same thing myself. And so when I was 18, I worked at a nursing home in the summers between school and college. And I would see people that were late 50s and 60s in a bedridden already. And that really scared me into really being focused on, on all the areas of health, not just a few, right? And in my practice here in Kauai, when a patient brought this information to me, I thought I already knew enough, and I was in great shape. I mean, I was in such good shape at 57. And I thought, I didn't even watch the ABC primetime. I hate to admit that, but I wouldn't even watch that because I just thought this patient didn't know anything about science and how could they help me? But anyway, I'm so glad my daughter worked at my clinic and wanted me to look at this information. So I was 57, and when I found out, like Angie said, when I found out it could turn on your glutathione, I was in. And so at the current time, I was playing, in addition to what all she shared, I was also playing basketball once a week with a bunch of 30-year-olds and like 20 to 30-year-olds. I was the oldest guy, I was 57, and we would play Tuesday nights. And I'd wake up on Wednesday morning feeling like a train wreck. And that was my only experience of aging. I mean, all my friends were talking about slowing down, and I was not experiencing that at all, but I did experience morning stiffness. So all we had in the beginning was NRF2 activation, which Angie shared, decreasing oxidative stress, turning on anti-inflammatory enzymes, anti-fibrotic enzymes. And I took that and I felt like and I'd done fasting before, so I knew what cleansing my body felt like. And I remember being on a 10-day fast and being up the top of a mountain and wanting to fly. I'd actually done hang gliding, so I wanted to jump off. I just had to back up. Well, I felt like that same thing, like I was super clean, like I was just like a fine-tuned machine. I just felt that in 3 days on NRF2. But on the 15th day, I woke up on a Wednesday morning, and it was the night after basketball, and I bent over because believe it or not, I know some of you that won't believe this, but we have winter in Kauai. And I mean, it gets down to a chilly 60 degrees in the morning. And so I had to put on, and our house has no heat. So whatever the temperature is, that's what our house is. And so I had to bend over to put on socks in the morning. And I didn't put on the socks. I just stood right back up again. I did that 3 times. I thought, am I having an out of body experience? And literally, I never had that stiffness after that, unless I had an injury. Like I dive on the ground playing ultimate frisbee. People at the frisbee, they go, "What are you diving for? Aren't you like?" And now I'm 68. Like, what are you diving for? I go, I don't know. I don't think about it. I don't think about it. It's just that's who I am. I just do that. So I might have an injury like that and feel a little stiff, but otherwise, I don't have that. I didn't have that. So for 10, 11 years, when when activation, the concept of activation hit me. I was so enamored with this activation that it began like not just fixing one thing, but when you look at the genes, like Angie was sharing, there are about 600 genes with NRF2 activation that it'll reset those genes, all of them. And when I saw that, we're talking about exponential healing, exponential help in recovery. And not only that, I've gotten stronger. So for example, on my swimming sprints, when I just added NRF2, you guys that exercise will understand this. I doubled my strokes per breath on my sprints in 30 days on NRF2. When I added the NRF1, the mitochondrial biogenesis activator, I doubled that again in 30 days. So I knew objectively, I knew I was at a certain level, and I doubled that in 30 days. I knew, okay, this activation from NRF2, this is doing something athletically. When I added the mitochondrial biogenesis, I knew that. When I added the NAD, it just made those first two better. I mean, for example, it turns on your anti-inflammatory gene, I think, 800% more than just the NRF2 by itself. So it's been an amazing, amazing thing. People at my church and people that know me, they just tell me, man, you are ageless. I was at my father-in-law's funeral last week. It's like there's so many people that we can help, and my why is so big. I would love for everyone to be able to experience this. And not only that, I was just walking on the beach this morning with my wife, and we were talking about our life since I retired in 2019, right before the pandemic, right? And because of LifeVantage, I could retire. I'd lost my retirement in 2008 in the market crash. And I had no idea what working with this company was going to do. I just knew I had to talk about it because, when I see something exciting that can help people as a physical therapist, I feel like, okay, I want everyone to experience this. And they started paying me. And so I got to retire in 2019. It's just, that has been amazing. So all those benefits together, someone asked me just yesterday, I was at a birthday party. They said, what would, if you could do anything you wanted to, you'd like a dream job. And I said, without a beat, skip a beat, I said, what I'm doing right now.
That's incredible. Did you integrate activation into your practice?
Absolutely. So
And
let's say I had a patient that had a rotator cuff tear repair. They healed twice as fast as everyone else that wouldn't take it. I would just like beat my head against the wall, like, why won't you take this? This is going to help you. RSD. I mean, everything that I saw in my clinical practice, everyone improved. Total knees went faster. Just neck injury, back injury, all those went faster. It was obvious, so obvious, and that I had that. I was in practice still for what? How many years, son? 57 to so at least eight of those years, 7, 8 of those years, I was in practice still. So it was amazing watching that and wondering why people would just like not understand, oh, it's just
yeah,
supplementation. I take vitamins. Well, that's okay. You don't understand what I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah. So like CJ and Max's stories of healing and recovery, that was just par for the course for you, probably with your practice, because you were seeing that so much. Yeah, that's incredible. I know people may have some questions for you too, and I may too as we go. But I wanted to share just a little bit about myself also. I mentioned I had a dance career that really, really strained my body and very, very intense, 8 hours a day dancing. I went on a tour where literally every day in different cities we're dancing for 8 hours a day. And it's wonderful. I look back at that and I think like people who like Rusty, like your athletic career, and different people who've really, really disciplined their body to perform at an elite level. Wow. I look back now, I'm 52 years old and I think, man, a lot of the things I did with my body as dance, as an art, were really like, it hurts me to think about it. Actually, it hurts me, but I'm also so grateful that I could utilize my body in that art form And I look back and I'm so grateful. I'm like, man, the things I got to do, the leaps, everything. It was just the turns, everything. It was just what a beautiful gift to be able to do that with your physique. And so at that level, my mind is still there at 52, and I got activated when my kids got activated 9 years ago, just because I, as their mom, felt that I should. And I started to notice my health in so many areas get better and better. And as we release different activators, Rusty mentioned, we activate the mitochondria, we activate your NAD and your production of sirtuins. We actually activate your collagen production. So every cell is increasing in collagen density by 100% within 8 weeks. We activate your body's protection of collagen, and you see this like regeneration and connective tissue, which, oh my gosh, athletically and healing wise, it also doing that as all these activators combine with each other, they make each other stronger, and they balance like 3,000 survival genes. So in addition to like the ones that Rusty mentioned. So I know that I won't get deep into the science because I wanted to focus a little more on the application of athletics and recovery. But you can imagine by the things that I'm saying, the depths of what you start seeing balancing, your body starts to become very balanced, starts to become very regulated, and you feel it working for you. So
Something real quick, Angie, on the
yeah, please.
collagen. Because when I added the collagen, my max pull-ups was 12. I did a couple sets. And when I went to the collagen, within 2 weeks, I did 17. I mean, just like, and I'd maxed out. It was like, okay, 12
Yeah.
was kind of it, maybe 13 every now and then. I just went to 17 in 2 weeks, just like, and I'd been stuck at 12 for a while. And that was amazing.
And you
Because
were older.
it's not just muscles, it's neurological component of the collagen assisting that. So it wasn't just like all of a sudden I bulked out. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, as you hear Rusty and I sharing, each of our activators were released years after the other one. So we're getting older, like we're in the aging process. So athletically, people would say, man, you should be slowing down. But we recently released this last October what we call Mind Body, and it's a GLP-1 hormone activator. So we're activating the pathway to manufacture and balance not only GLP-1, but the other hormones in the gut-brain axis that need to play nice with GLP-1. And it has such an effect on all the organs, on your circulation. And I went on it, of course, like I want the balance. When your body's making what you need, it's not, so I want you to get out of your mind the bioidentical like injections that people are doing. That's different. But what we're doing is we're activating the body to make it and regulate an essential hormone. And when I added that, I started noticing, because what I do now, my workout of preference, I love to hike and do all different things, but my preference is to rock climb indoor. I love rock climbing in a gym, and I wish I could rock climb every day. And I get better the more I do it, but if you don't rest, you get worse. And the recovery is just a stinker. It's really tough to recover from rock climbing, just your skin and your grip strength. Sometimes my body wants to go, but when I would get there, my hands would be like, no, you don't, you're not recovered enough yet. And my maximum amount of rock climbing per week would be four times a week. And that was hard. So, somewhere in there, if I did Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'd either have to do Saturday or Sunday. Saturday is going to be back to back to Friday. Sunday is going to be back to Monday. And I'm going to have a two day in a row. And it was hard. I could not have a good climb that way. And very shortly after getting on Mind Body, all of a sudden I started noticing like, wow, I'm having a really strong climb the next day. And then
Oh, we lost her. We don't hear you, Angie. We lost your volume.
We're having terrible storms here.
We can't hear you yet, Angie. You're still muted. I'll have the same thing. So once you come back on. So when I tried the GLP-1, not because I need to lose weight, but because I wanted to experience all the organ benefits, not the state of Oregon, all your body organs, right? And I wanted to experience and it actually increases your muscle sensitivity to insulin. And so I wanted to see what it would do to my workout, time and my stamina. It was amazing. My dips got like I just all of a sudden started doing more dips, more pull-ups again, like the collagen. Everything I did, I could do more of and do better, and swimming. So when I do my swimming sprints, I sprint for 30 seconds, rest for a minute, sprint for 30 seconds, rest for a minute, and I know that by the 9th, 10th sprint, I'm already starting to feel like, man, I've maxed this out. No more. I can do up until the last one. Maybe the last one I know I'm starting to fatigue a bit, but I'm just maxing it out for that 30 seconds. The whole time I'm doing sprints now after the mind body. Are you back, Angie?
Um,
Yep, you are. Okay.
oh, good. Okay, I'm going to deny my access from my phone then. Okay. Sorry, I was trying to work two devices to go two ends around the middle, but yes, I was pretty wrapped up with what I was saying, but now what limits me to rock climbing now is my availability to spend the time, but not my body. So I've gone 5 days a week, and I think I have 7 in me, and they're not weak where I'm falling, I'm pushing myself. So my performance is better, my stamina is better, and my recovery is better. I'm 52. I'm really close to 53. And I've been rock climbing for 10 years. So you would think logically that I would have been doing more at 42, at 43 than at 52 and 53. So there's a lot of health aspects, as you can tell athletically, to that GLP-1 and our mind body. And even the people that we know, and one thing that's really beautiful that we see is the people we know who want to lose weight, who get on it, we very much see a body composition change. So the numbers on the scale start to become more irrelevant because sometimes they go up with muscle, but people are losing. I have one client who's lost 16 inches and no weight, but she's gaining muscle, and not like Rusty said, not in this bulked up way, but whereas, their comparisons, like those GLP-1 semaglutide prescriptions, those are depleting your muscle. And we see 100% muscle retention, and we see a lot of people who needed to gain muscle are gaining muscle. And so athletically, this is wonderful, wonderful news. And I know that we mentioned a lot of things. Ideally, we want you to know about the advantage in your physical activity, workout, or athletic experience, the advantage that you can have with activation. What you activate just really depends on how deep you're into it. Think of the legs on the table. Eliminating one leg on that table really does change the whole property and how you look at that tabletop. Some people say, I want to get rid of them all. I want to hit it hard. I want to go for broke, and they want to eliminate all those dysfunctions that are supporting what's holding you back. And that's great. And some people are like, I want a baby step. I want to do one thing. Well, doing just one thing. Washington State University did one of our peer-reviewed studies, and they called Protandim Nrf2 quite possibly, this is in their peer-reviewed study, quite possibly the most preventative and therapeutic breakthrough. Now remember, it was preventative and therapeutic breakthrough in the history of medicine. And I'll be honest with you, the first time I heard that, I thought it was melodrama. I just thought it was hype. But I have close to a decade, and Rusty has more than a decade, of seeing people's experiences with activation, and it's not hype. We get to see some pretty special things when people get to learn how capable their bodies are, where previously they have limited. So we will take a couple questions. We have a couple minutes. If any of you have a question for Rusty or for myself, if we don't know the answer, we'll find it for you. You can feel free to unmute. If there's no questions, that's not a big deal, but we like to give people the floor.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
So I'm celebrating 70 years young this year, and I'm really excited about how I feel. In October, I went on the plant-based mind body, experiencing everything you're saying, and just seeing my composition change. In that 5 months, I did lose 7 pounds, but I wasn't interested in losing weight. But flabbiness became muscle without changing my workout. And my question is, because a lot of my friends my age and older are so bone skinny as they age. And I really intend to keep my muscle, and I think I'm wondering what you feel. I'm kind of guessing that with these products, we can age with our muscle tone and not lose that volume. What do you think?
Well, maybe Ron, I see you leaning forward. Do you want to share a little bit? And start with your age, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. I'm a little bit older than Heidi. I'm 78, and I started the Mind Body at the same time that Heidi did. And one thing that I have noticed, I've lost a little bit of weight on it, and I needed to, but I have noticed that my muscle density and mass has increased, and I can't account for why. Because I mean, back in my 50s, 40s, back, half my life ago almost, I was a gym rat for a while. I am just naturally more active, but my muscle tone has definitely gotten better. And I can't say it's because I'm working out, because literally I haven't had the time to do that right now. But yeah, it's the mind body is causing that.
Well,
I
and you
just,
know, it's very regenerative. And so with what I'm going to say next, I want everyone to know that we're not going to claim to heal, treat, or cure any disease. I can tell you what we've seen, and I want to give you just a little bit of science underlying to it. I mentioned the synergy between our activators that occurs. Our mind body has a synergy with Protandim NRF2. We've done an in vitro study on that. We see 35 genes influenced and activated and regulated that were normally out of whack. That mind, body, and Protandim NRF2 actually don't regulate those separately. But together, when you take them together, 4 more antioxidant pathways, 9 more fat and fatty acid pathways, and 22 more organ regenerative pathways. And so that's just an example of some of like the regeneration we see, where we've seen people where they're combining activators gain heart function when they had previously in elderly age ranges been having heart failure, regenerative of the muscle, right? Yeah, and develop more cognitive when they had been cognitively declining. So we see that regeneration where in other areas people may have doubted it's possible. So we get to see some of that regeneration, and absolutely with muscle, it's possible too, Heidi. That's such a good question.
Thank you. Thank you, because that's important to us. I don't want to be bone skinny. I want to keep the muscle tone that I have, at least.
Yes.
I think
Oh,
we do.
Also important to your age or any age actually, but is bone density. So when you can increase bone density, you're also helping a ton there as well. Just you can build more mass, just even muscular mass after your bone density is there.
And how do you check that?
Uh, you could go get a bone density test, but we're finding out that that's what's happening with the GLP-1 activation. I mean, when you look at the science of what it does in your body, when you're doing it naturally, obviously, it's doing many of those things: the bone density, insulin and muscles sensitivity, organ prevention, restoration, the heart. That's amazing. When you had a lot of people having after COVID, you're having this, myocarditis and these kind of issues. I had a nurse friend who on the Tri-Synergizer had radiation damage to her heart. The cardiologist that actually did the initial exam to diagnose her heart damage, saw her as a follow-up. He sat her down and said, "Cynthia, if I hadn't done your original test, I would never believe what I just saw in your heart. There's no damage. It's absolutely gone."
Wow.
So, yeah, with activation, we're doing things that you never thought possible.
I wish this was recorded. It looks like it's not.
it is. It's
Oh, it
recording.
is. Oh, wonderful.
Thank you, Zoom, for continuing to record during the 2 times the host dropped off.
I know.
Thank you for
Great.
technology. Thank you, everyone. It is the top of the hour. We will put this recording out. People will have a chance to watch it and to share it. And if you had a question that we did not get answered, or if you are really interested in looking deeper in the science, we have other recordings that go a little bit deeper. We're always happy to hop on another call. It's so important that people at least know this is an option. And I know from watching my father's body and muscles atrophy and deteriorate, how important it is to be able to keep moving and to be moving strongly and vibrantly. And our heart is for you, for everyone who hears this, to know that this is at least an option for you, and it's possible for you to feel better than you ever realized feeling your best could be. And that's our message. That's why Rusty and I are so passionate about this. So thank you again, everybody. Aloha, stormy Michigan.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thanks,
Thank you
Jerry.
so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you.